Welcome in to another episode of the Building the Pride podcast. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, though I forgot to move my mic. So hopefully y'all can hear me better now that I've got this.
Oh, my God.
I know. It's been one of those days, Drew. How about yourself? Today's been slamming for you, hasn't it?
Well, so I did not feel great today. In fact, I took a half day from work and came home and then got in a car accident. So that was fun. I'm enjoying it.
Slamming it is.
Yeah. So everybody's fine on both sides. Even the other driver, we're not really blaming him for the accident. He got waved to go through a left-hand turn coming out onto the street by somebody, and he went, so he believed them. That person did not know that I was coming towards them,
same area.
Because, and so this is my thing, right? There are plenty of situations that people can be cordial and courteous and nice to one another in public. I'm not saying that people shouldn't do that. Hold the door for somebody, take their shopping cart back to the grocery store, tip your cap to them as you're passing them on the street, you make eye contact. We can be decent people to each other. When you're driving, the best thing that anybody can do for yourself and everybody else is just to follow the rules that we were taught.
Yeah.
Without fail. Yeah. I mean, the stakes are relatively high when you're in your car, right?
Literal life and death, right?
Right. So I got some aches and pains. I got my headache got worse, but other than that, it's not too bad. So
I'm glad that you're doing all right and able to join and talk Lions.
It's gonna be good. It's cut down day.
It is cut day. It is cut day. It is cut day.
And we're gonna get into it.
Let's do it. Before we do that, let's do some news and notes around the NFL.
Well, the big rumor this week that I heard was the Lions were in the market for a big name wide receiver. And they were going to, and then it came to light that was either going to be Mike Evans from Tampa Bay or Cooper Kupp from Los Angeles. And just on the face of it, I would rather have Cooper Kupp. Nothing against Mike Evans. He's a fantastic wide receiver. I think Cooper Kupp's the better wide receiver for Jared Goff. Did not come to pass. So
and it never was going to.
It was never going to.
Let's be real.
So there were some Lion content creators, like we are, right? Who were driving this idea that, ooh, look at this. This is coming up down the pipe, and big eye emojis and all this kind of stuff to like drive up like anticipation and hype and traffic.
Yeah.
And we don't do that here, right? Like we
do our best to not to drive any traffic whatsoever. We are damn good at it, Drew.
That is correct. So, but even if we were really popular and thousands of people tuned in to listen to you and I talk about football, I still would not want to pull a stunt like that. And maybe it's entirely possible that they were receiving information that I'm not privy to, that they were being told, this is in the works, this is a real thing, keep your eyes posted on social media to get wind of it. Okay. If that was me and I had quote unquote a source that was telling me this stuff, I don't know that I would really trust that source the next time they told me something.
Yeah, and to be honest, I've seen that floated around as well. At least the Cooper Kupp one, because I tend to watch some of the Rams-based social media, just kind of checking on Stafford, see how he's doing, and all that kind of stuff. And I've seen that same kind of thing floated there, and I don't understand it at all. The Rams, I mean, they made it very clear that they're building around Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald. Those are the 3 untouchables. Everybody else we're going to build around. They're not going to, and never were going to, trade away one of their 3 pillars. So every time I see that, I'm just like, I don't get it. Why are you even trying to talk about this kind of nonsense?
Mm-hmm.
Mike Evans, I guess I could kind of see they don't have. He's not a untouchable pillar that they just spent $30 million a year renewing. You know, like I could see them trading him for assets. I would be, depending on what the trade was and compensation package and how we extended him to make the cap stuff. Like I'd be interested in him. You know, to your point, I'd rather have Cooper Kupp, a little bit younger, and he kind of fits our system with the lower to the ground West Coast offense kind of thing. But I wouldn't turn down Mike Evans if the price was right.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's just it, right? And like the price being right is totally subjective, you know, like
Yeah.
I might think 2 first-round picks for Mike Evans. That sounds like a pretty good deal. He's a seven straight years of 1,000 yards a season. He's a 9. Okay, got it. 9.
He's going on his 10th. Going into double digits if he's got he's got what, Baker Mayfield throwing to him, so maybe not. They'll stop at 9
this year, but but like he's an excellent wide receiver and has proven production through a career that is longer than most people's NFL careers. Like the guy is good.
Yeah.
Can he help the Lions? I don't doubt it. You know, you tried to find junior him in Denzel Mims, right? Big bodied, really fast, supposed to do this kind of the same stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't work out. That's fine. Took a flyer. You know, but if you wanted to, if you weren't sure, you know, heading into, you know, you got 6 games without Jameson and you wanted a little safety net or whatever, you know, you could go out and get a guy like a veteran on a team that might not be competing for a playoff spot this year. That makes, like, those 2 guys that got floated made sense to me that they might be available. So I don't have either the Rams or the Bucks in the playoff hunt this year, but we shall see. That's why you got to play the games.
Yep. Anything else news and notes around the NFL? I mean, there's obviously today was cut day, right? So there's got to be news.
Well, there's some new. So here's the thing that struck me, and I don't know that this is like, you know, banner worthy or what have you, but the amount of movement in the last 72 hours for kickers has completely shocked me.
Yeah.
There have been multiple trades for kickers. There have been teams who have cut every kicker on their roster. There are teams who have 4 kickers on their roster currently. I've even seen the same kicker cut on 2 cut down lists today.
so they picked him up and went, and then...
Yeah, and it was like, hey, is this the same guy on Jacksonville as it was on Washington? It is. Interesting. What's going on? So, is there a crisis of confidence in the kicking game in the NFL? Maybe.
It's important. It's the kicker tends to be the highest scoring player on the entire team. So, like, it's important. Those extra points add up. Those field goals add up, especially crunch time when you're like, oh, I'm down by 1. Well, you don't have to go score a touchdown. You just need to get to the 40. Mm-hmm. And they're supposed to win it for you, right? So it's an important piece of the game. You know, you've seen those memes about the running backs. You're like, average kicker salary $4.2 million a year, average running back salary 2.3. What gives? And of course, there are, you know, 4 to 5 running backs on a team, and a lot of them are at the minimum, and you got a couple like the math doesn't matter when you're looking at apples and oranges like that. But yeah, I mean, they're a critical piece of the game.
Yeah.
Not that the running backs aren't.
No, I mean,
run game is critical. Running backs,
everybody's got
committee.
their.
You typically don't do field goal kicking by committee.
No, so yeah, so it's interesting. Other than that, I think all the news and notes are probably gonna end up being in the cuts. So let's jump into that, shall we?
Well, do we want to talk cuts, or do we want to talk about preseason week 3?
Oh, we can do that for sure.
Review of that real quick.
Yep.
All right. Well, what are your thoughts?
So I've been on this train now throughout the whole preseason. Is the Lions return game to me looks great. I don't know if this is something that's going to be able to be replicated into the regular season, but this is the third game in a row where they've had like a punt return that significantly changed field position. And it's like there's some variance there with some of these returns, like Maurice Alexander's return, 2 spin moves that got him out of tackles, or whatever. He broke 2 tackles. That's good. He did an excellent job. The Khalil Dorsey return, like he ran smack into a guy, and then the guy just doesn't tackle him. It's like they surprised one another, and then he just took off for another 40 yards, And then we had the one, in this last game, and like I continue to be very, very impressed with their return unit. And if they have like a 25-yard return once a game or every other game, I think that's a big deal. So I'm very hopeful that the Lions will carry their PFF #1 special teams ranking into the 2023 NFL season. So you muted yourself.
I did. I coughed and I was muted. And I'm back. You can hear me now.
Oh, thank God.
Speaking of PFF and preseason week 3, let's take a peek at what we got here.
Yep.
Antoine Green had a great showing. Some of our linemen, that was one of the things that I was hoping to see going into this week, was some better play from our offensive line depth. And Connor Galvin played better. Matt Nelson played better. I believe both of those guys ended up getting cut.
Nelson?
Well, let's see. Let's take a look here. Nope, Nelson did not get cut.
Yeah, Nelson. So maybe we should do it like this. Like we'll go through. We'll kind of combine them. So
okay.
Let's see. Antoine Green made the cut. He is on the team. He is on the 53.
Yes.
As is Matt Nelson. But Dylan Drummond, who had a great preseason. Connor Galvin, who I believe is the other gentleman that we're looking at there, the other lineman, they did not make it. So kind of tough. Teddy
Bridgewater and Goff are the 2 quarterbacks on the roster.
They made it.
Hendon Hooker got put on the NFI list. Adrian Martinez did not make it.
Which is very interesting to me. And this is one of the things I wanted to talk about with the cuts, is that you're allowed to keep a third. So they must have wanted.
You can keep as many as you want.
Well, on game day rosters?
So you can keep as many quarterbacks on your 53-man roster as you want. You can start, so you get 50. You get to start 48 of your 53, I believe, on your game day. I think it's a 48-man game day roster, 53-man roster in general. So 5 players are on the 53-man but don't play in the game. This year, you can have essentially a 49th game day player as long as it's a quarterback that is on your 53-man.
I see. So I thought maybe Adrian Martinez would have been amongst those 5.
I thought maybe.
So, but it seems like they're comfortable with a more traditional starter backup system. So, okay.
Knowing that they got Hooker on reserve on the, that will likely be coming back at some point during the year.
Right.
When we don't know, but yeah. So I think they're kind of counting on that. On the defensive side of the ball, let's see what we got. Stephen Gilmore played lights out. Chase Lucas played lights out. Jalen Reeves-Maybin in his third time with us, played
Second
really
time.
well. I like seeing Anwu Zarike playing well after being out with the injury last year. I'm not shocked to see Rodrigo playing well. Brandon Joseph he played well, but he ended up getting cut, I believe.
He did. He's probably a practice squad guy.
Yep. Craig Reynolds got cut.
That was a surprise.
I was a little surprised by that.
So effectively,
running backs.
I mean, effectively, they have Montgomery and Gibbs at running back,
and
Kabinda as a goal line ball carrier, blocking Y type. Who knows what he is? Fullback. Yeah. Looking over everything, I'm a little surprised that Julian Aquara still made the list. I'm a little surprised that Ifeanyi Fanwu made the list.
So, let me do this. I'm going to share my screen again.
So good. You're so good at it.
Yes, I am. And end stream.
Look, it's our new what's it called? Discord channel.
Discord. Yep. So we got our Discord because that's got Deontay in the Lions Lounge. He threw the list of roster moves from today.
You can't read it.
Hooker on the NFI. Emmanuel Mosley passed his physical, which is great to hear. JMO on the reserve/suspended list. Sudfeld on the reserve/injured list. Waived Chase Cota with an injury.
Yep.
Jamar Jefferson was waived, and then we released Daryl Daniels, Craig Reynolds, Benny Snell, waived, which I'm thinking this means these guys are hoping to be back on the practice squad, right? That's you waive those to try to get them on the practice squad. You release them if you don't want them at all.
No, the only difference between waived and release is the amount of time that each player has spent in the NFL.
Oh, gotcha. I stand corrected. Dylan Drummond, I thought was a little bit of a surprise because I thought he played well. Brandon Joseph and Chase Lucas, I thought both played pretty well.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
I thought Starling Thomas played pretty well.
So let's talk about that because this is where I ended up. Their DBs that they cap, and this is safeties plus corners. Sutton, Mosley, who's apparently coming off the PUP list. Joseph, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Brian Branch, Tracy Walker, Jerry Jacobs. No surprises there.
Yeah.
Will Harris. Really? Come on. Stephen Gilmore. Makes sense. He had a great preseason.
Yeah.
Ifeanyi Fanwu. Really? I mean...
Yeah, I was surprised that Brandon Joseph didn't make it, even if he was going to be made as an inside corner instead of a safety, or even replacing Ifeanyi Fanwu.
I mean, so Chase Lucas, and isn't there another DB that was playing really well?
Stephen Gilmore, Chase Lucas, Khalil Dorsey.
Yeah, he made it. Dorsey made it, but I think he's on the team for special team stuff. Like, I think he's a backup punt returner.
So
Gunner.
I made a 53-man roster prediction, which I'll bring up right now. And I wasn't exactly sure how the NFI and injured list. So I'm like, okay, if they don't count against the cap, I thought maybe Martinez would not the cap, but the roster. I thought maybe Martinez would make it, and I thought Okwara might make it as well. So like I kind of noted like Cabinda's mostly for special teams. Raymond is mostly for he's our kick returner. I think Rodrigo's going to be mostly special teams. Jalen Reeves-Maben, Starling Thomas. Like I think some of these guys are going to be primarily special teams. In why they're still around.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's I would not be surprised at all if the Lions kept a bunch of people for their special teams acumen. Anthony Pittman, great player, special teams guy. They want to have a good special teams unit. I don't know that you cut. I can't read any of that, Mike. I mean,
I know
it's all just blur.
Super small.
Yeah, it's might as well not be there. I mean, any of them. There's so.
All good.
Yeah, perfect. So I don't. So like, if you have 6 or 7 defensive backs that you are primarily your core or whatever. Stephen Gilmore, Chase Lucas, even Jerry Jacobs per se, not necessarily like looking for a lot of time, probably have to contribute on special teams. But I just can't believe that somebody that had a good preseason like Chase Lucas gets cut and Will Harris makes this team. I don't get it. And like, I don't know that what I'm going to say next is true. So stick with me. But one of my concerns about this front office was when they took over and like you start hearing them like give press conferences and answering questions in the media and that kind of stuff is like, oh, they're a Lions guy. They're a team guy. They're our guys. Okay, well, if Will Harris is your guy, is he going to make the roster over somebody that outplayed him? Because he's your guy and he's good in the locker room, or
I mean, I'm assuming that they're not making decisions based on emotion in that way. That they're our guy. I think what they're trying to say is they're our type of player. They're
what is
football.
The difference?
What's that?
What is the difference?
So like. One of the things that I think that Campbell and probably Brad Holmes also values a lot is football intelligence, drive, motor, those kinds of things. Like you can be talented, but without a lot of drive and without a full on high RPM motor kind of thing. And I think they are looking for those types of players. Talented people that also have the drive and determination to excel. And they value that more than the equivalent person without said drive and determination, motor, whatever it is that they're looking for. So I think that's when they're saying like our kind of players, they're not our players, but our kind of players, kind of guys that we're looking for, the kind of attitude, that they're looking for, personality that they're looking for. Are they a cancer in the locker room or are they a good teammate? That's what they're looking for. I think Will Harris is probably that. The question is, are they valuing that over other talent?
Right. So that's my question, basically, is it's like, I don't think they bring in people to this team that don't meet the definition of what you just said.
Right.
So if the qualities that you just espoused are ubiquitous throughout the roster, at what point does it just come down to who's a better football player? And like,
I think it always does. But the question is, so a lot of these guys we've never had on our team. We don't know where they're at, not just quality wise, but also personality and culture wise. So maybe they're like, yeah, Brandon Joseph was good, but guy's a hothead. He's not listening. He's not coachable. He's got some talent, but like he's not going to get any better because he's not. Brandon Joseph. I'm not saying you are this. I just picked your name out because I was surprised that they cut you.
He's probably watching.
So like, not that Brandon Joseph is watching this
Right.
by any means, but like maybe that's the thing. And they're like, I would rather have a coachable, lesser player who's going to play harder in Will Harris than maybe someone who's more talented, but he's already at a ceiling because he's not coachable, thinks he knows everything, and has a bad attitude.
So
those are the things I'm like,
do you think they're bringing those players in at all? That is my question.
I think they, and a lot of times they don't know what those players are.
I disagree. So like, I would feel if you and I were flies in the room,
right?
And it's like the day after the draft and you're inviting your UDFAs to come in, I would be shocked if those players you hadn't scouted, hadn't seen at a Senior Bowl, kind of scenario, or had, regional reps were giving you their scouting reports on the guys.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. Like, I don't think that like coaches or anybody in the NFL really is bringing in players where they're like, this guy's a hothead, he just doesn't listen, without having some idea that that's who he is before they warrant an invite to camp.
Oh, I think they're probably like, they have an idea, but
yes,
some people have reputations that are not necessarily accurate or unfounded. And sometimes people just need a change or they don't get along. Like, so there's a lot of reasons why someone would be some way in one organization in a different organization, right?
Sure.
They don't get along with the coach or philosophical, whatever those things are. But like, I think they probably have an idea, but they don't know, all right, what is the depth of what I think? Like, do I think he's a hothead, but we can deal with him? Or do we think he's a hothead and we don't think we can deal with him and we don't want to try it at all? I think there's these guys are like, I don't know. Like, they could be in this range. I just don't know if they're at the bad end or the good end.
So, okay. So I'm going to bring up this debate again. This is why they don't take Jalen Carter at 6, right? This is why they trade down, right?
Sure.
Character concerns, yada, yada.
Right.
Okay. All right. Maybe that's legit. And they don't want a guy that, did whatever he did, didn't like the way that he handled it, weren't sure about his character. Okay. That's one thing when it's the number 6 pick, or you trade multiple first rounders for a guy.
Okay.
But when it's the 8th defensive back that's primarily going to be on special teams, and it still can't take place on this team, I'm sorry. That doesn't read to me like we want a certain type of player. It's that the culture can't change. The culture can't handle this certain type of player. And to exclude talent because of that reason, to me, is a mistake. So, like, if Chase Lucas and Stephen Gilmore, who made the team, each have good preseasons and they make it over a guy like Will Harris, who has not, and Ife Melifonwu, who has now been hurt for 2 years in a row, I mean, those guys might not be playable, or when you put them in, are actively bad.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, but like, I would rather raise the floor of this team by however tiny percentage points to take somebody like Ife Melifonwu and Will Harris off this team and say, okay, Aaron Glenn, okay, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, okay, Tracy Walker, all right, Cam Sutton, work these guys out. Get them pointed in the right direction. We invited them here. They said they're on board. Let's see it. And if it doesn't work out, fine. But like, if they were those people that you described, would they be playing this much in preseason games? Would they have earned the right to go and play?
I think it's probably a bubble thing, right? Like they're good enough to keep considering. Again, I don't know. Like, I'm just thinking, like, why? Because I thought Brandon Joseph played great. So why was he cut over a guy like Ife? And I thought Chase Lucas played great. I mean, great for what we're expecting of them, right? But so why did Will Harris, who played poorly and has played poorly his entire career with us, why did he make it over Chase Lucas? There has to be some reason. So the only thing I can think of, it is some sort of culture, personality type of fit. And I will say it's you can't say, well, a culture is not a good culture if you can't have a bad apple not spoil the culture. That's not the way culture works. That is not the way it works. I've seen single people single-handedly destroy entire organizations, entire departments. And when you get rid of that one apple, everybody starts. I have watched it happen. That is just not the way that it works. Where you go, oh, our culture is so good, it doesn't matter if we have a cancer. It does. Cancer spreads, and so you don't want those people, regardless of their quality.
And that's fine. But like when your team tops out at winning a playoff game once every 30 years, come and talk to me about talent. Because I would rather have a team that wins than a team that doesn't win with a great culture.
You're not going to be successful when you have those kind of people.
Great. They haven't been successful regardless of what they've done for like my lifetime. So I'm ready for them to have some more talented people on this team to win football games.
But if that brings everybody else down, you don't win football games.
I don't understand how the 8th DB on your team can bring the whole team down. So, like,
I'm talking philosophically. Whether
I understand what you're saying,
or it's Jalen Carter, who's your number 6 overall. Right?
Sure, and Jalen Carter, and like, but like, once again, as far as I'm concerned, like, you don't know until you have those guys in house.
Yep.
Right. And like, I would also go to say, like, maybe let's say Chase Lucas is a cancer. Like, he made the team last year. He's not new to the roster.
Right.
He's a dude that was on the team last year. They must not have thought that of him to keep him on the team.
Right.
Okay. Jalen Carter comes up. You don't take him. Fine. Great. You don't want to invest in that kind of guy. Understood. Philly did. So I think it's nice to say you can't have anybody go against the culture. That's fine. But then the fucking culture had better take you to the promised land. And if it doesn't, great. You made mistakes because you didn't win. And that's ultimately what it comes down to is, do you win in the NFL?
Right. No,
Every other question is secondary.
I totally agree. But I think the way you win is by having everybody on the same page, everybody working together. When you have somebody not working together because they're all worried about themselves, causing problems, causing strife, that's not how you win. So, I'm not saying Jalen Carter would do that, or Chase Lucas or Brandon Joseph is doing any of that, because we just don't know. But like, I would rather have someone who's 90% of a cancer be on the team, because you're going to lift the team up more than this is going to drag the team down more than this is going to anchor, right? Like your floor, right? Because you want to raise the floor. This guy will not raise the floor because he's going to be in the process bringing other people down. So like, I totally get that. As someone who has watched it and deals with leadership in teams and that kind of stuff daily, like, it's a thing, and it definitely will do that. I don't know if that's the issue with like Brandon Joseph and Chase Lucas. Maybe they just saw something in them that they were not impressed with. Maybe they lost a step, or not following directions and missing. I don't know what it is, because I'm not.
But it has to be one of those things, right? But it has to be one of those things.
Especially otherwise, because he's been on the team. They know what they have in him culturally and personality-wise.
Right. So if it's not one of those things, what possible reason could it be to keep Will fucking Harris on this team over a kid who was on the team last year, who just had a great preseason?
Yeah.
What's the reason? And that's the thing that bothers me.
Yeah. It's got to be something that they see that we just don't see. Whether it's every day in practice, and Will Harris is going out and hitting it 100%, and Chase Lucas is half-assing it. I don't know. Like, it's got to be something we don't see, because everything I see tells me we should have kept Chase Lucas.
Yeah, like if this is Will Harris who's going out there and just doing everything the coaches said, I'm killing it. You coach, you asked me to jump and I say how high, and I jump this high and I'm giving it 100%. And this is Chase Lucas who's half-assing it. Sorry. I mean, I'm going to try and get the guy to give me 3/4 of his ass or whatever Dan Campbell's going to say next, right?
Yeah.
Because if you can get Chase Lucas this year, next year, the year after, I don't care, to that level, he's a better player than Will Harris.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have to be seeing something that we don't. I mean, that's got to be it. Like, especially in that scenario, because they know what they've got personality-wise. So it has to be something on the talent and performance, right?
Until they tell us why, which they won't.
Yeah.
I'm going to consider it a mistake because I know who Will Harris is. I have a pretty good idea who Ife Melifonwu is. And I just watched this other kid do everything they asked him to do on the field.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, out of Eagles camp, no one seems to have any problem with Jalen Carter so far. So
yeah.
Well.
Yeah, I was rooting for Carter picked myself.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, that to me is the worry, is that we're going to draw the box of what this team is going to be, and that box can't accommodate somebody that could help this team get to where they need to be. That's my concern. And I didn't have any problems with it in the first 2 years, but this last offseason I thought was good in a lot of respects. And then also I was like, really? In a couple of others. And so some of which we have just talked about, but I don't get it. I mean, you don't owe Melifonwu or Harris a lot of money. I just don't get it. I mean, that's the problem, is that I don't understand why. I don't understand why. I mean, I would put Chase Lucas's preseason up against any footage of Will Harris over the last 3 years. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that one. I don't like the fact that Jason Cabinda is still on this team. I mean, so I listened to a podcast this week from The Athletic, and their Lions reporter, Colton Pouncey, basically said this. He basically said, Jason Cabinda is going to be on this team until they find somebody that can do what Jason Cabinda does better than Jason Cabinda. And I thought, that's worse.
Yeah, what is that?
What does he do? And so and to kind of parrot what you just said, when his co-host or whatever was what does Jason Cabinda do? It's these are the things that you immediately mentioned. He's a great locker room guy. He's always doing what the coaches ask him to do. And I'm I don't fucking care. I don't care.
I care about both of those things, but at the same time, you also have to be good, and and the role that you're playing has to be important. If we want a cheerleader, we can hire a cheerleader.
They have them already. I don't need one.
They can have him as a some sort of staff cheerleader even. I don't care. Don't take up a 53-man roster for it.
There's Joey. Hey, Joey. Joey, did I see that you changed your pick in the PFF chat the other day? I think I saw that. And I was like, is Joey got a impersonator? What is this, Michael?
So this is the 53-man roster. I thought maybe we'd go over it kind of position by position instead of
Could you make it bigger for me?
Oh, for the love of Christ.
Because I can't read it. That's great.
All right.
That was some dude pretending to be you? Yeah. Well, you got yourself a impersonator, dude. Highest form of flattery.
Quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Goff and Bridgewater.
Makes a lot of sense.
Not surprising because Hooker's going to be on the NFI.
Sudfeld tore his ACL. Probably just wanted somebody else on the roster other than Martinez. Makes a lot of sense.
I was really surprised that we're keeping 2.5 running backs.
I don't get it either. I mean, like Montgomery and Gibbs, those are no brainers. You made very clear investments in them in both players this offseason. You've had imposters on YouTube for years. You're an all-star, buddy. Don't understand the Kabinda thing. I don't understand having a third running back. It's not like you can't go get one of them when you need them or elevate.
And I wonder if that's just what it is, right? Like, we're going to keep 2.5. Kabinda's going to be primarily special teams probably, and then those weird packages where he's going to run somebody over and make a hole for the 1 yard for the touchdown or whatever it is, right? If they get hurt, if somebody gets hurt, knock on wood, they don't. But like if they do, there's a lot of guys that are sitting on their couch that can come in and fill in, and that's probably what they're thinking.
Yeah, I would imagine this is something like Tuesday in practice. Montgomery's got like a tweaked ankle, or whatever, and you're like, we're not 100% what he's going to be in the game. All right, let's call up Jamar Jefferson from the practice squad.
Yeah,
so
that would be my guess as well. Wide receivers, we got Marvin Jones Jr., Josh Reynolds, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's obviously our
number one,
our starter, our number one. Khalif Raymond and Antoine Green. I think Raymond is primarily going to be kick returner. And then obviously J-Mo starting week 7.
Yeah, can't really argue with anybody on this list, or at least I don't think there are any surprises. Jones, you signed in the offseason. Josh Reynolds has been on the team for years now. St. Brown is your very clear number one. Raymond, you just extended. He's coming off a legit Pro Bowl nod, and you just drafted Green. And like Dylan Drummond, Chase Cota, these guys had nice preseasons. But you didn't spend a 7th round pick on them. So I think they want to see what they have.
With a injury designation, though.
Well, I mean, after the game, right? So, I mean,
yeah.
So, yeah, I think that there aren't any big surprises here, and there are even less surprises on the next list.
Tight ends.
Yeah.
Sam Laporta, our number one. Brock Wright and James Mitchell playing second fiddle.
I would have bet my house that this would have been the 3 tight ends they kept.
It's ballsy.
Is there anybody? Do you see Shane Zylstra beating out anybody on this list? I know he's hurt.
Didn't Shane get hurt though?
Yes, he got hurt. If he was healthy, do you see him beating out anybody on this list?
Probably not.
Right.
But betting your house is pretty ballsy just in general.
It was to convey my confidence in the fact,
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say, like, our wide receiver, for having the 5th highest scoring offense last year, and Goff throwing for 4,400-ish, 4,500-ish yards, our wide receiver group is the most unimpressive group for a top 5, top 10 quality offense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not blown away by the list in front of us, right? You add Jamison Williams to it, and you're still just like, he hasn't really played.
Yeah. I mean, Marvin had, 600 yards and 3 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
Josh Reynolds was on his couch before we called him up saying, hey, Goff needs somebody that he can establish chemistry with right away. Can you come play with us? Like, Khalif Raymond, great kick returner. I mean, I guess he's a guy that can catch the ball. But and Antoine Green's kind of the same way. It's a really underwhelming set of receivers. And I do wonder if our passing game is going to take a step back because of I think we overachieved last year on the passing game, I guess. And I think we're going to fall back to where we probably deserve to be.
I don't know. I think that I like the investments they've made on this team in the offseason. I would have preferred to have seen a larger investment in this position group.
I mean, maybe we get Mike Evans. That would change the whole dialogue with that group.
To be honest, for the kind of offense they run, I don't even really want Mike Evans on the team. He's a good wide receiver, but I think there would be issues with him and like what he's good at doing. Jared Goff is not a go up and get it kind of thrower. Hey, what's up, Hatters?
Say no to
he
Evans.
Says he's off the Evans train too. So like he and I are on the same train. But like Cooper Kupp, you can just sign me up all fucking day for Cooper.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I put Cooper in my top 3.
Yeah, he is
top 3 in the NFL.
He is excellent. There are very few people in the NFL that I just would watch regardless of team or week, like, oh, week 9. What does that mean? I don't know. But like I will watch Cooper Kupp play football because it's fun to watch him play football.
I mean, to be honest, when I signed up for NFL Plus last year so I could watch the Rams, I want to watch Matthew Stafford play.
Mm-hmm.
I found myself really watching Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald more than watching for how well Stafford played. Those guys, I mean, Donald is he is a man among boys.
Different level, yeah.
It's just fun to watch. I literally every snap I'm like, okay, where's Donald? Oh, there's 99. Oh, look what he made that guy look foolish. Oh, I bet that hurt. That kind of shit. Every single play, and Kupp was the same way on offense. I started looking like, where's Kupp at? Because I want to see how this route's going to do and see how he gets open. And oh, look at he's double teamed, and somehow he just got wide open. Those guys are fun to watch.
Yeah, completely agree.
Offensive linemen, not a ton of surprises here. We got our main 5: Decker and Sewell at tackles, Jackson Vaitai at the guard, Ragnow in the middle. Glasgow we brought in as a depth guard. Nelson and Sorsville were the same guys from last year.
Well, Colby was a draft pick.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I was thinking he was here last year.
North Dakota State. So.
Defense. I mean, honestly, there's not too many surprises on this roster.
I think Benito Jones is a bit of an interesting one for me. Yeah. No disrespect. I think that McNeil and Buggs are your 2 starting defensive tackles. Martin, he's a rookie. They think highly of him. Onwuzurike is coming back. He looked not bad in the preseason. Like, I think this is going to be reps and getting back into shape and getting caught back up, and that might take a while. But I think he could be a rotational piece. But like Benito Jones, I mean, like, what are we? I don't know. I don't know how he fits, I guess. And
he's depth.
Well, sure. I mean, but like they could put a backup punter in that spot and say that it's depth. Like they have an idea for him and on how he fits in for depth, and that's what I don't know. Like, is he like if you want to rush the passer? I would imagine you're bringing in Martin and Onwuzurike, and then like where does he fit? Like, is it just like I don't know what he does different than the other 4 guys. So I see a reason for the other 4 guys. I don't necessarily see a reason for Jones. So, and like to be honest, it would make more sense to me if they had only kept 6 pass rushers, but they kept 7.
So like when I did my 53-man, I had all 5 of those guys, including Jones. But my edge rushers, I had 5. I had Hutch, I had Charles Harris, I had Kaminsky, Pascal, and Houston. I did not have either of the Aquara brothers. Although Romeo was my he would probably make it if one of these others don't. One of the other positions I was short on or something. Sure. And then, of course, there was some Julian Aquara trade rumors as well. So he may be on there as a potential trade target once all these rosters start shuffling around too. He may not last get into the year.
So I was talking to a friend of the program, Lions Rumble, earlier today about this topic, and he and I have similar feelings on the Aquaras. Basically, that they're holdovers, underperforming holdovers, who keep making the team. And so, like Will Harris, Melifonwu, the Okwaras. What are we doing? You know, like to me, these are roster spots that could go toward getting developmental talent in game
Well,
reps.
of course, Julian's still on his rookie contract. He is kind of still in the developmental talent phase.
Do you really
not, right?
Do you really feel that you don't know who Julian Okwara is?
What's up, Crimson?
Yeah, we did change.
Yeah, we changed it.
Yeah.
Welcome back since we are building the pride now.
Yeah. 6 weeks in.
Luke,
wrap up his podcast, Crimson.
Do they know who Julian Okwara is at this point? Probably. But if he's doing this like slight uphill, slowly getting better thing, sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know.
See, I disagree.
You're gonna take a flyer.
Once you know, if they know who he is, get rid of him because it's just not been. It's not been good. Okay, good. Is he a good depth piece? Sure.
He's also decent on special teams too, so
that's got to be it.
There,
it's got to be it, right?
I was surprised with Romeo though, just because.
Well, he took a big pay cut.
Did he end up taking a pay cut?
Yeah.
Okay, well maybe that's why. I was gonna say he was expensive, and I would rather slide somebody else in that role.
Let me just track him down here real quick. We can keep going.
While you're tracking him down on probably over the cap, swing over to linebackers. Anzalone, no shocker. Campbell, no shocker. Rodrigo, no shocker. Derek Barnes, not a shocker. Reeves Maben, he's a special team stalwart, so that makes sense. I was a little surprised with Anthony Pittman. I did not have him on my list. I had 5 linebackers, and he was the guy. He was the odd man out for me.
But he's a special teamer. He was a captain last year, I think, on the special teams unit, and so he was also to me, is he in that 5, range or whatever? I think he's a bottom of the roster player. That's the only shock. Crimson, come on, man. But I think Barnes, Maben, and Pittman are they're on the team because they're special teamers. I don't think they're going to see meaningful snaps at linebacker in game situations. But you do have to have special teamers on the team. You have to do those things. So it makes sense that there are going to be guys on here who are primarily special teams players, but then they just must be very high on those trees. Barnes had a good preseason, it's all good.
Yeah. Cornerbacks got Cam Sutton, Mosley, who passes physical, Stephen Gilmore, Khalil Dorsey, Jerry Jacobs, and somehow Will Harris. We won't go into that again. That was shocking to both of us. I cannot believe that he got there. And
I don't know how he plays. I don't know how he plays. Who would you play Will Harris over amongst any of these people on these lists? The only guy I can come up with is Melifonwu.
Yeah, I don't know. We kind of remade our defensive backfield. Jerry Jacobs, Will Harris were really the only guys that were coming back, right? And then on the safety side, Walker and Kirby Joseph, and I guess Melifonwu, although I didn't expect him there. The other 2/3 of the players were all brand new. But I was really a little disappointed that our defensive backfield, our cornerback room, wasn't so good that Will Harris couldn't make it. There should have been. What's up, Dr. D?
Hey, Detroit.
I feel like our floor should have been high enough where Will Harris couldn't have reached it, right?
Yeah. It's I just know that I'm gonna flip out the first time that I see Will Harris in a real game and he fucks something up, and it's gonna be like, oh, I wish that was Chase Lucas, you know. So I mean, every team in the NFL needs help at cornerback.
Yeah.
I just cannot believe it. So
Will Harris'
anyways,
safety room is looking pretty stellar.
yeah, so like here's like it's a good problem to have when you have too many guys at one spot, but they have one too many guys that can play. I don't know how I would want 4 of those guys they have listed at safety on the field all the time. And I just don't know how they're going to do that. Like, even if you played like a 3 high safety look, you still need 2 corners. So I'm like, I can't believe that they would trot out a unit of Cam Sutton, Gardner Johnson, Walker, Joseph, and Branch. And like, I don't know that I believe everything that like Lion beat writers put out there. I mean, they've got jobs and getting our attention is part of their job. But Jeff Risdon, who I'm not 100% a fan of, was like, Brian Branch might end up being the best defensive player on this team this year. And like, okay. So that, I mean, like, there aren't world beaters on this team, but like Aiden Hutchinson is on this team.
Right.
And like, not that I have a problem with a kid from Alabama being better on this team than my boy from Michigan, but it's not like Aiden set a low bar either, So real reason is Will Harris fills multiple roles. Problem, he can't play any of them. So doesn't the second part of the sentence disprove the first part of the sentence, Crimson? I mean, like, I agree with you, but I mean, like, isn't like 0 divided by 0 still 0? I mean,
it's undefined. So I will say, like, I think Dr. Troy brings up a good point when we look at the safety room being as full as it is. Yeah. I think CJ goes at the end of the season. In fact, depending on how well Walker, Kirby, and Branch play, he may be trade bait at the trade deadline.
I don't think that'll happen.
I don't think that'll happen, but I can see that being a thing.
So here's my prediction. And I've floated this in the past, but I will just bring this up again. Tracy Walker. This will be what? I believe this is his last year before his contract falls off a cliff.
I think he has 1 more year left, but it's a big drop in base salary.
Okay.
I believe.
But like, if you're asking me who would I rather have playing next to Kirby, it's Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. The guy played with Aaron Glenn in New Orleans. He knows the system. I don't know if he's had a significant knee injury. I know that Tracy Walker has had one in his career. And like, yes, Brian Branch is a younger clone of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. The guy that I would want to get rid of is Tracy Walker. And he played well.
If
so like,
was who you want to get rid of.
Well, I mean, like, so, right. So, I mean, like, yes, that would kind of clear everything up. But like, the chat's point is kind of well taken here. It's like, you can't get all 4 of those guys on the field. So what mixture of those 3 guys ends up on the field? Well, Kirby's not coming off.
Yeah.
So you don't take away the guy that ended Brett Favre's career in Green Bay.
Aaron Rodgers.
What I say, Brett Favre?
You did, yeah. He was probably not alive when Brett Favre played his last game. He's a young kid.
Yeah, it's true. But anyways, Packers quarterback.
0 guaranteed salary next year with a total cap number of $12.8 million. He would be a cap savings of $5.5 million if we cut him before June 1.
So
it'd be a $7 million dead cap, but $5.5 million cap savings because his cap number otherwise would be 12.8.
Gotcha. I would rather re-sign Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and cut Tracy Walker than to let Gardner Johnson go. Here's what I will say about just letting him walk. If you let him walk and you have his replacement in house, and then maybe like you extend Walker for another year or two or something, can we finally start getting into this like compensatory pick generation project? I mean, can we finally start doing that? It doesn't work if you sign a bunch of free agents every year and never let anybody go. I mean, I want that to happen. Anyways, I have a surprise on the specialist. Like, I thought Jack McQuaid or whatever his name is, that they brought in to be the long snapper this year. He was like a Pro Bowl or like all pro level. I thought he was like an all pro long snapper. And I was like, okay, that's it. They're upgrading at long snapper for all intents and purposes. And then they cut him like in the second week of the preseason.
Yeah, they told him, you have to outright win the job. You have to be better than Scott Daly. There's none of this, oh, if you're just as good, you have to be better than this person. There's no tie goes to the new guy thing. So I don't think that it's a long snap. So like, maybe I just underestimate the challenge of the position, but I feel like they kind of like you can either snap the ball a long ways or you can't. And I'm not sure how you become distinctly better than another one. So I feel like that's probably a pretty big hill to climb. But again, I've never played long snap, so I don't know, maybe it's harder than I think.
Probably is. But whatever. I mean, like, it's long snapper. I mean, I can't recall any times last year where he was just like terrible. You know, like if he can get the ball to the placeholder, I don't care, you know, or the punter or whoever, you know, like, fine.
And don't then on the reserve list, we got Hooker and Sudfeld, both injured, and then JMO suspended.
Yeah. You can't keep everybody, right?
Well, that's true.
Starling Thomas was the other guy. That's what I was trying to remember. So you kept Melifonwu and Will Harris, and you let go of Starling Thomas and Chase Lucas.
And Brandon Joseph.
I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I'm just going to be scratching my head. I mean, like, Will Harris had better not fucking
and Will Harris plays great on special teams because hopefully that's the only time he sees the field. But I got nothing.
Crimson, don't you weigh like 170 pounds? I mean, like, the only way that you would be a long snapper in the NFL is because they made that rule change that said that DTs can't line directly over the dude's head. I mean, like, right? Like, I'm not crazy. You're not like 6'4", 240, right? You're lighter than that. I mean, I'll pay you to be the long snapper.
Yeah.
Just because I would love to see you out there in like seriously, like legit.
You just want to see him in
and helmet, and like then you're like snap, and then you come up and you got the hands, and you're trying to hold people back. 180, my bad. I shorted you 10 pounds. So, yeah, I think that would be a real fun game. All right, guys, we're going for it. We're going for 2. We're going for it on 4th down. 5'11", 180. Yeah, that's what I mean. Those are the stats, the metrics that you want on your long snapper right there.
Kyler Murray.
You can play in the NFL, dude. You can play in the NFL with those stats, 100%.
So there's not much going on next week because it's going to be before week 1, which we get to kick off week 1 against the Super Bowl champs, Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm assuming we're going to do some sort of preview type of episode next Tuesday.
So I have a slight hope for this game. And yeah, so the slight hope is that Chris Jones decides that he's not going to actually play? He's threatening to hold out to week 8.
He did not report.
So far, everything's pointing in the right direction, right? For me and my hopes.
Yeah. I mean, if Patrick Mahomes doesn't also not report, I think we're probably just fucked.
That, to be fair, that is the bigger of the two players, if towards winning. But I will say this, like, him not being okay. I'm not putting Chris Jones on Aaron Donald's level because Aaron Donald has been at that level his whole career. But last year, Chris Jones was the only other player in the NFL that you can say he and Aaron Donald are playing at the level that they both played at last year. It was them. Those were the two. He is good. He is really, really good. And, if you can just week 1 not have to go up against that fucking monster, maybe the running game works that much better. Maybe you don't get pressure up into Jared Goff's face 5-8 times a game, whatever it might be. And
we want that running game to be stronger.
Yeah.
We want to take the field position or time of possession advantage as much as we can, because that means the ball's in Patrick Mahomes' hand less.
Okay. So
right?
Now I'm going to actually disagree with you. And
really?
Here's why. I'm a Michigan fan. I grew up with that philosophy, right? Like, I grew up with the ball control, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, play good defense, run the ball effectively, don't fuck up.
Yep. Long live Bo.
Yep. Long live, and that is the hallmark of every team that's worth their salt has gone through some version of that, right? To get to other greater levels of play at whatever level of football they're playing. But I think the Thanksgiving Day game last season is exactly why that doesn't work anymore in the NFL. Because if you give Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, maybe even Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, these guys, if you give them
they're on the AFC.
45 seconds on the clock, it doesn't matter. They can go the length of the field. So to me, I understand where you're coming from. Like, what you're saying is give him 6 chances to beat you, not 7.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if he only has time for 4 drives, the most he's going to score is 28 points.
Right. So, and that makes sense. I think the problem is
your defense still has to step up.
Yeah, right. Like, at the same, he can score 28 points in 4 minutes of game time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless you're going to have the ball literally the entire game, we're just in an era now in the NFL where teams can score from almost anywhere on the field too quickly to warrant ball possession.
We saw that for like a decade.
Right.
Like, 96 seconds left.
Matt's got the ball. We got a chance at this one.
We got it. Like,
fourth quarter.
I'm not afraid.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I can't tell you how many times I was like, they're going to have to give the ball back to Matt with 24 seconds. All we need to do is go 40 yards.
Position, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And give us the good return plus that. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm not worried. Yeah. I mean, you're always a little worried because it's not a sure thing that you're going to go, 75 yards in, 17 seconds or 24 seconds. But we had a quarterback that did that when needed. Prevent defense helps for sure. But even prevent defense, you still have to put the ball where you need to put it, which is downfield a long ways.
I think Patrick Mahomes is just a fantastic player. I don't know anybody that's going to disagree. It's the easiest thing in the NFL to say. But to me, if the Lions are going to go onto the road week 1 and beat the defending champs, there's dominoes have to fall. Special teams have got to be great. Chris Jones probably not playing would be great. And then Yeah, I don't know about like running the ball control, but like that offense has got to be able to keep pace with Kansas City. And like
Yeah.
if they come out of the gate like they did last year, I mean, like the Philadelphia game was close, one score game. Like they were putting up 30, 35 points on
It was a
people's
tennis
defense.
match and we never broke serve.
Right, basically. Exactly. So like you've got to be able to do that and then have like are the improvements that you made on defense, can they break serve once?
Yep.
That's what you got to do.
I agree. I think like I like the fact that we rebuilt our defensive backfield because it was the worst in the league. And I like that we're not that. I don't think we're that anymore. I mean, we're not top 10, but we don't need to be top 10 to be significantly better. Like even if we're 22nd, I'm far happier about our chances of winning games and making stops. I just don't know if we're going to get all those. Those guys haven't played together in a game.
Right.
Like our starters never played. So like Gardner Johnson hasn't played with
Kirby.
Fucking anybody.
Right.
so,
Yeah.
so like I think that chemistry can be built somewhat in practices and OTAs and all that kind of stuff. But man, game speed and all of that stuff is a different beast. I'm a little worried that game one against Kansas City, I don't think they're going to be ready for it. That's why I don't have a lot of hope for game one. If we played them game 11, I would be far more like, okay, our defensive backfield is gelling. They're on the same page now, yada, yada, yada. Hopefully everybody's healthy. But week one, man, I don't know. I'm skeptical. I think that we'll probably get beat and probably by 10 points.
Okay. Well, we're going to see, right? Like we talked about this on our NFL schedule release. Like,
yep.
It's, however many, more than 5 times out of 10, the Chiefs are probably beating the Lions at home, right?
Yep.
But if the Lions, that's why you got to go play the game to see which of the 10 it is, and if the Lions can get a win on the road, is that the shot of confidence? Is that the like match that sends the rocket ship, some analogy, confidence, lots of it? Who knows what could happen? Join the Discord, everybody.
Yeah, I'm going to throw that into comments.
There we go.
So you don't have to like write it down from your screen.
Yeah, now you can just click. It's so much easier just to click on it.
It is so much easier.
So we do have some folks in the Discord already. Conversations are being created and expanded upon. Mike's done a real nice job with that. So if you guys want to contribute to the community, click on the link, come and say hi, throw your 2 cents in. We'll see what week one brings, right? Well, not next week, but we'll see it very, very soon.
So next week, I'm thinking we do, now that we've got a new 53-man roster, we've seen what happened with the draft and free agency and all that stuff. Do we want to revisit our schedule predictions? And it's right before week one and kind of revisit where we think we were like, oh, you know what? These guys didn't improve as much as we thought. Maybe that's a win this year.
We could do that. Sure.
All right. Let's do that. I think that'll be fun. See if we've made any changes to our predictions now that all this stuff happened.
And I will say, because we're getting close, but week 5 or 6 in the NFL is when you start to see like teams start to separate in the win-loss column, and that's when we're going to be starting to do mock drafts. So just be aware.
Well, and the nice part is that's when our schedule starts to get easier as well. The toughest part of our schedule is the first 4, 5, 6 games. So hopefully we will have separated ourselves in a positive manner and then piggyback on that the remaining dozen games or whatever. So, but yeah, definitely join the Discord. It's a lot of fun. We've got channels for game day chat and fantasy football talk, football memes, whatever, breaking news, Lions chat, whatever it is. I think we got a lot of stuff in there. It'll be fun to grow the community. So link is in the chat, also on your screen. Mr. Wanky joined. Awesome. Good to see you.
What?
I'm curious who Mr. Wanky is.
Where is that?
In the Lions general chat.
Oh, in the actual Discord.
In the actual Discord, yes. Sorry. But yeah. Otherwise, Tuesday at 7. Like, comment, subscribe. Bang that subscribe button. And we appreciate that. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good to see you guys. Cut day was fun. Now we got to get into it. Right now it's go time. So
it is.
Now it's going to be betting on games, and it's going to be a blast. I'm just praying that we get a playoff win this year. First time that I can say we've got one. So
yeah, since 1991.
Yeah, I was 9.
We're gonna get there.
So.
We're gonna get there.
Yeah. All right. Well.
All right. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Till then, peace.
See you guys.